Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about Captain America: Brave New World. It's been a while since I've last reviewed a Marvel movie, and that's because I haven't really cared about Phase 5 of the MCU. However, I am trying my best to get back into things. Brave New World was directed by Julius Onah and was released last week on February 14th, 2025. It's the latest installment in the MCU, and the first solo film starring Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson as Captain America. The film attempts to blend political intrigue with high-stakes action, continuing the grounded style of Captain America: The Winter Soldier and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. While it has strong moments, it ultimately feels like a disjointed sequel to multiple different MCU projects, rather than a cohesive Captain America story. Now, before I hop into my review, if you want to support the channel, then please take a second to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you, I really appreciate it. As a warning, this review will contain some heavy spoilers, so please continue at your own risk. Lastly, if there's anything you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know by leaving a comment and I will do my best to get to it. Thank you, I'm hopping in 3, 2, 1. The film follows Sam Wilson as he navigates his new role as Captain America in a world that remains divided on whether he deserves the shield. I have my opinions and I will get to them a little later. The main conflict revolves around a secret government conspiracy involving the discovery of Adamantium, which emerged from the remains of the celestial Tiamat frozen in the ocean from the Eternals. Hot take, I love that movie. That's a whole other review though, so I will move on. The US government, led by President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, tries to negotiate mining and distribution for Adamantium with other countries like Japan to avoid an arms race. His world summit goes awry with a near assassination, and Sam is forced to investigate why. Samuel Stearns, reprised by Tim Blake Nelson from 2008's The Incredible Hulk, has now fully transformed into the supervillain, the leader, and is pulling the strings on the global tensions. One of the movie's strengths is the political thriller tone reminiscent of The Winter Soldier. The espionage elements such as Sam and Joaquin Torres infiltrating a covert military facility are well executed. However, the plot often struggles under the weight of multiple storylines. For example, the Adamantium subplot, which should have been the main driving force of the narrative, feels like a background element rather than the central conflict. I'm glad Tiamat and Adamantium were addressed in this movie, but the importance of Adamantium doesn't really shine through. In Captain America: The First Avenger, we get the importance of vibranium when Peggy Carter shoots at Captain America. The bullets bounce off and we see how effective vibranium is. In this movie, we don't get anything like that. We're just told that Adamantium is important and that all the countries should fight over it. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that the Adamantium stakes are low. Similarly, another storyline that felt underutilized was Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder. I guess his character does tie into the greater narrative, but it's a shame that Giancarlo isn't utilized more in this movie. He is a fantastic villain when given the time to shine. Some of his best work is in Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and The Boys. He can be a conniving terror when given the chance, and unfortunately in this movie, he was not given that chance. Don't get me wrong, it was still cool seeing him fight Sam Wilson, but the impact wasn't what it could have been. RIP to the Serpent Society and Seth Rollins' cut role. Lastly, the climax features a battle with the Red Hulk, the transformed version of President Ross. I have no issues with the CGI design, but I think the resolution was very underwhelming. For starters, the trailers for this movie should have never shown the Red Hulk. I understand that was their entire marketing gimmick, but it completely undermined the climax. Everything you saw in the trailers is nearly the entirety of the Red Hulk footage in this movie. Okay, that is an exaggeration, but you get the point. There's no secret or surprise in this movie to get you excited when you're sitting in the theater. The other thing that's really underwhelming with the climax is how Sam talks Ross down. Their fight was fun, but definitely unbelievable. I like that there's no way Sam could win, but I don't like how Sam was the one to talk Ross down. It 110% should have been Betty Ross, especially considering that Liv Tyler is brought in at the end of the movie. Rather than have her at the end of the film, she should have been teased more throughout the film and then made her appearance during the climax to hammer home the perfect setup of being amongst the cherry blossoms with her father. I think that would have been a much more emotional climax than Sam being the one to, "Hey big guy, sun's getting real low." Another major issue with the plot is the villain portrayal. While I loved that Samuel Stearns returned, I was disappointed with his character. He's supposed to be a super level genius strategist that can calculate the probability of different scenarios. With a power like that, it should be nearly impossible to beat and counteract him. However, he is consistently outsmarted throughout the movie. It completely undermines his character, his power, and any level of threat from him. As a result, his post-credit tease about the multiverse and other heroes incoming feels hollow rather than ominous. Why do I care what this villain has to say when he lost and what he's saying has nothing to do with the movie I just saw? There's no good tie-in with the end credits, so it's mid at best. Now, what I would have loved to see is the leader acting more like Sister Sage from The Boys. She is an incredible villain and helped carry season 4 because her actions as the smartest person on the planet prove that she is the smartest person on the planet. She is always steps ahead of every hero and villain in the show, and when you think she got outsmarted, she reveals later on that it's all part of her larger plan. The leader's character suffered because we weren't shown his abilities. We were only told about his abilities, and what we were shown contradicted what we were told. It's the exact same issue that plagued Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Time out. I know it sounds like I hated this movie. I promise I didn't. I had an enjoyable experience, but I am frustrated with Disney and how they've handled Phase 5 of the MCU. Not just the MCU, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Pixar, Pirates of the Caribbean, and so many other IPs. You've got to do better, Senator. Time in. I really enjoyed how this movie leaned into themes of government corruption, national identity, and military overreach. I think these are themes that align well with Captain America stories. Being that this is a Captain America story, we need to talk about Captain America. First off, Anthony Mackie is a great actor. I've genuinely enjoyed him in a lot of the movies I've seen him in, like Elevation and The Night Before. Even in the MCU, I really enjoyed him as Falcon. He was perfect in that role. However, from what I've seen, Anthony Mackie lacks that X factor that sells him as a main character. He has strong side character energy, and that's what it feels like in this movie. The plot for this movie doesn't help because he's already sidelined in his own movie. This really is an Incredible Hulk sequel and not Captain America 4. I genuinely feel terrible for Anthony Mackie because he was arguably given the biggest shoes to fill in the MCU, and there's no way he can fill those shoes. Even somebody like Wyatt Russell couldn't fill those shoes. People hated seeing him as Captain America and sent him death threats. So I don't understand why Disney set Mackie up for failure like this. They should have kept him as Falcon and given the shield and mantle of Captain America to someone like Bucky who has super soldier serum. I like that this movie jokes about Sam Wilson not having powers, but it just hammers home the nail that he's not a good Captain America. To elaborate further, even if Bucky had been chosen as the next Cap, it still would have been a rocky road. You can't just take a beloved side character and easily turn them into a main character. You can't take Shuri and call her Black Panther just because you don't want to recast. It messes with the flow of everything that's come before and writes you into a corner. The other issue that really stops Sam Wilson from feeling like Captain America is his amalgamous tech. This is a huge MCU problem right now. The fact that every superhero has nanotech is a huge turnoff. That's something that only heroes like Iron Man and Black Panther should have. I hate that everybody suits up in the exact same way, particles coming down over their face. It looks dumb, it's unoriginal, and it makes characters feel unrealistic. Nanotech harms Sam Wilson's image. I also think the fact that he has a vibranium suit from the Wakandans also harms his image. Again, he doesn't have super soldier serum, so he needs this tech, but it strips him of anything that could have made him unique. All of his abilities, powers, and armor are things we've seen before in other movies that use those elements better. Time out. I'm so sorry guys, I'm going to continue to rant here for a little bit. A lot of these negative points that I'm bringing up aren't to bash the movie, but to offer constructive criticism and ways to move forward. There are a lot of lessons that could and should be learned. Time in. I love Harrison Ford. Han Solo, Indiana Jones, Deckard Shaw were all great performances by Ford. However, these movies came out over 45 years ago. I hate to say it, but Harrison Ford's best days as an actor have passed. If there were ever a movie to prove me wrong, it was The Dial of Destiny. And then this one. Now I know a lot of people loved Harrison Ford in this movie, but I didn't. He never fully convinced me that he was the president of the United States. He never fully convinced me with his transformation into the Red Hulk. He never fully convinced me that he cared about his daughter. I don't know, everything just felt uninspired and Ford's voice sounded so tired to me. It doesn't carry any gravitas like William Hurt, rest in peace. I think another actor who could have taken on this role is Clancy Brown. He was already in Netflix's Punisher, but I think he could have taken on this role with a mean mustache. The other character I didn't really care for in this movie is Joaquin Torres. I have no issue with Danny Ramirez. His acting is fine. However, the character writing just felt weird. It jarred a little too much with the serious tone of the film. Torres is supposed to serve as comedic relief, but a lot of his jokes and upbeat attitude didn't work for me. Maybe it's because I'm older and more jaded, but a lot of the signature Marvel humor really annoys me. I hate it when there's a serious moment, and rather than let me sit in my thoughts and appreciate the moment, a dumb dumb quip is made. It completely kills the emotional stakes. As a side character, Torres is fine, but the humor has to go. Before I get to my praise, I have one final bone to pick, this time with Sabra. I have no issue with her character being Israeli, and I'm glad she filled the Black Widow role in this movie. Shira Haas is a great actress, and while I liked her facial expressions, her frame does not work in this movie. At least not for the action. How am I supposed to believe that a 5'2" woman weighing 120 pounds is throwing around 6'2" men weighing 185 pounds? It doesn't make sense. I have no issue with Sabra being a special agent and shooting people, but the hand-to-hand combat is unrealistic. If Marvel wants to make characters like Sabra more believable, then they should hire female UFC fighters. Bring in Ronda Rousey, Holly Holm, Amanda Nunes, and Gina Carano. These women can knock me out in real life, so I promise they would play some badass and tough women if given the chance. Alright, enough bad stuff, on to some good stuff. I really liked Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. He's a man who has stage presence and, for lack of a better word, aura. His acting and character have gravitas and bring weight to every scene he's in. I felt terrible for him when he was put back into prison after his assassination attempt. You can see and feel his terror. While him being in prison helps serve the story, I would have loved to see a different narrative. For example, I think this movie would have been significantly better if Sam Wilson broke Bradley out of jail and together they investigated the secret base and confronted the leader and Red Hulk. It would have been great to see Bradley overcome his fear and distrust of the government and sacrifice himself to defeat the villains in true Captain America fashion. I think a narrative like that would have let Sam and Bradley's dynamic shine and hammer home the ideals that Captain America represents. Hope, equality, standing up for others, trusting and depending on each other, and the American dream. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments if a narrative like that would have worked. I know a lot of people complain about the CGI, production design, and cinematography. I don't have any issue with it. I think everything is serviceable. I think the action sequences are well choreographed and feel grounded, which perfectly suits Sam's fighting style. He's not a super soldier, so he actually struggles in combat. I think that's a welcome change. I like seeing my heroes get beat up because it shows that they're still human and relatable. As a result, Sam has to think strategically about how to best his enemies. I think that's a good trait. I also think the film's color grading and cinematography are good. I know there's a lot of green screen, but I don't really notice it. Everything is pretty functional, and I don't feel like the CGI harmed this movie in the slightest. I also like the score. It feels familiar to the Winter Soldier and Civil War, and I think that's a good thing. It helps this movie feel like it's part of the greater Captain America storyline. Is it generic? Sure, but I don't think that matters in the grand scheme of things. It gets the job done, and besides, the sound design is solid with crisp audio and well-mixed dialogue. Captain America Brave New World is a mixed bag that delivers some solid action and political thriller elements, but ultimately struggles to justify itself as a true Captain America film. While I enjoyed the grounded fight choreography, the political intrigue, and performances from Carl Lumbly and Giancarlo Esposito, the film's disjointed narrative, underwhelming villains, and mishandled character arcs keep it from reaching the heights of the Winter Soldier or other MCU films. I hate to say it, but Sam Wilson does not feel like Captain America. It's not because of Anthony Mackie's performance, he's a great actor, but because of how his character is written and positioned in the story. The overuse of nanotech, the sidelining of Isaiah Bradley, and the overall lack of emotional stakes hurt the film's impact. Red Hulk looked great, but the execution of his arc was lackluster, and the final battle left a lot to be desired. While I didn't hate this movie, I can't help but feel more frustrated by Disney's handling of the MCU's Phase 5. I miss when these films had a clear direction and didn't feel like a patchwork of reshoots and setups for future projects. That being said, Brave New World isn't the worst Marvel movie, but it's also not the Captain America film it should have been. Thank you for listening to my review of Captain America Brave New World. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.